During the prime of LPSTube, my second favorite series, right behind LPS Popular, was LPS Totally Super. The series aired at almost exactly the same time as LPS Popular, and it was unique. It still kind of took place in a high school, but it was more fantasy superhero and not high school drama. So, episode 1 starts with Lola crashing into something in her father's lab, and her sister Paige running down and scolding her about being down in the lab. Now, when Lola crashes into this table, she breaks open a bottle of this clear, odorless liquid, and it gets all over her. So her sister suggests that Lola goes upstairs to take a shower, and Paige will clean up her mess. So after Lola's shower, Paige kind of comes in to check on her and question her about why she was down in the lab. And Lola confesses that her, dad's been acting kind of weird lately. She just wanted to go kind of try to find him and see what he's been up to. So cut to the next morning, and the parents actually have names in this series. I don't think they're ever spoken in the series, but they're in the description of the videos. So Mom Mary is kind of doing the dishes, finishing up breakfast, and her dad James kind of just quickly runs off into his lab. He kind of eats very quickly and leaves. So then Mary tells Lola that her dad mentioned that he's missing one of his potions, and he's really upset he can't find it. And Lola's like, I don't know anything about that. So then Paige comes downstairs and her mom goes up to clean the bathroom. And Paige just kind of complains that she wishes they had a normal family that eats together. So Lola starts to feel a little bit dizzy, but she brushes it off, goes into the bathroom to start getting ready for school, except she faints. And then her mom kind of takes her to her room and doesn't want her to go to school. But Lola's like, I have a couple tests today. She's kind of begging to go. And her mom finally decides to take her to school. So at school, she tries to open up her locker, but they keep shocking her. She actually has a teacher open it for her. And then in class, she's taking her test and she's getting kind of some weird symptoms. She's really cold, and then she's really hot. And then she finishes her test and she asks to go to the nurse because she's not feeling well. So she heads home to take a nap, and she wakes up and she looks at herself in the mirror and sees a superhero cat staring back at her.
Oh my dog, this can't be happening.
She flies out of the house, out of the second story window, except she, in the middle of her flying, she just can't fly anymore and just starts to fall. And this causes Lola to kind of scream herself awake, so that was a dream. Mary comes to check on her and tell her that dinner is ready. And again, James, the dad, just kind of leaves pretty early to go down to his lab. So then after dinner, the girls go to bed, and Mary goes downstairs to look for James, but he's nowhere to be found. She looks in the garage. His car is still there. She mentions that his phone is still there. And she's just, this game's kind of normal for him. She's just like, oh, I'll check in the morning if he's still here.
Car's here. Maybe I should try calling his cell. Huh? Left his phone here. Well, that's funny. He never leaves without his cell. I guess I'll go to bed and see if he's back in the morning.
So the next morning at breakfast, Mary confesses to the girls that she doesn't know where their father is. Paige is understandably upset and wants to call the police, but Lola and her mom are kind of like, he's probably doing something for work. So anyway, they go to school. The girls go to school together, but Paige and Lola kind of separate into their own friend groups. And while Lola's talking to her friends, they all freeze, and she realizes that time is frozen as well. She then hears her dad's voice telling her that the potion is working and that she needs to help him, and he teleports her to him. And when he teleports her, he shows her that she is a superhero. It wasn't just a dream. So James takes Lola to the secret part of his lab, and Lola's thinking of superhero names, and she suggests Super Lola. And her dad is like, no, we can't use your name. We have to keep your identity hidden. So she decides on Miss Justice, and her dad explains her powers to her. So moving forward, I'm going to refer to as Miss Justice as when Lola is like in her superhero form and when Miss Justice does things, and then Lola when she's like her normal girl. So Miss Justice has X-ray vision. She can make things disappear and reappear. She has super speed, super hearing, and she can fly. But like any good superhero, she has to practice these powers to be able to use them well. So after this quick little rundown, James teleports Lola back to school before she can ask any questions. So then after school, Mary tells the girls that she found a note that James left saying that he had to leave on like an emergency business trip, and he left a phone number for them to contact him at, but no one can really get a hold of him at that number. So then that night, Paige confronts Lola about her kind of acting weird recently, and Lola is like, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you," and Paige is like, "Try me," and Lola's like, "I'm a superhero," and Paige goes, "No." You're bullshitting me right now. So Paige is like, well, prove it. But Lola doesn't know how to turn into Miss Justice, so she can't prove it. Instead, she takes Paige down to the lab to show her the secret part of the lab, but it's gone. So then after dinner, Lola begs Paige to believe her, but Paige calls her a nut job.
Oh, I believe you. Well, you see, You do? Yeah. I believe that you're a total nut job.
And she tells her to stop talking about their dad because it's upsetting her. So then James teleports back in while Lola's alone, tells her she's not crazy, and takes her back down to the lab and gives her like a remote so she can, like, the secret part of the lab is like hidden unless you like reveal it. So he gives her this like remote to reveal it. So here, James gives Lola a necklace that allows her to transform to Miss Justice when she puts it on, and then back to herself when she takes it off. So Lola tries to ask her dad questions again, but he cuts her off and just teleports away again, being very secretive. So the next morning, Lola shows Paige that she is a superhero, and Paige asks Lola if she can ask her dad if Paige can also be a superhero, because she's getting a little bit jealous. And Lola agrees, and then they go to school. Now, Lola's friends are named Bijou and Violet. So they go to school, and Lola finds Violet crying. She says she was kind of pushed around by some guys, and they stole her purse and her backpack. So then Lola starts hearing her dad's voice again, and she goes into the bathroom and sees him like in a mirror, and he tells her like, "This is your moment. This is your time. You know, go get those bags back for Violet." And she didn't bring the necklace with her to school, so he just teleports the necklace to her so she can use it. So Miss Justice finds the boys that took Violet's belongings, and they don't believe her. They think she's like just some girl in a costume. So they kind of start pushing her around a little bit, and then she whoops their tails. So she turns around when she's done and notices a crowd has formed around her to watch kind of the scene going down, and a news crew has shown up. So they go back to school where Bijou and Violet find Lola, and they explain to her what happened. And then we cut to Lola and Paige coming home from school, and they decide to tell Mary Lola's secret. And Mary confesses that she's known about this potion for a long time. Now, James originally wanted to use it on his kids. He wanted to experiment on his children, because originally it didn't work on like adults and older, I guess like older like teenagers. Mary didn't want that, so he promised Mary that he wouldn't experiment on their kids. And Lola explains that it was just an accident, but Mary still kind of leaves. She's kind of a little bit upset. So that night, when Lola's dad comes, she asks him to make Paige a superhero as well. And he basically says he lost the formula for his potion, and so Lola cannot be, or Paige cannot be a superhero. Lola asks James if she can at least tell Bijou and Violet, and he says as long as she trusts them, then she can tell them, which I would not have done. So that night, after Lola's done training with James, she goes to tell Paige, basically that what happened, that she can't be a superhero. And so Paige goes into the basement and finds her dad's computer and tries to find the formula herself. Now, when this happens, she gets an email that says, "Hello, Paige," from a Gmail account, DS666. Now, if you know anything about like Christianity, I'm like 99% sure that 666 is like the devil's numbers. So this was a very interesting choice by the creator to kind of give us a hint that this person is evil. So this DS dude tells Paige that her dad needs help, and he informs her that he has the formula for his superhero potion. And he can teleport it to her, and she can take it, and she will be teleported to this DS dude and her dad. So obviously, Paige does it. So the next morning, Lola and Mary find a note in the basement in the lab, where Lola just left a quick little note saying she'll be back soon. So Mary calls her, Paige answers, but then she hangs up on her. Lola suggests that maybe Paige ran away out of anger, that she could also be a superhero, and her mom decides yet again she'll wait until tomorrow to do anything about it. So that night, Lola has a dream that basically none of this ever happened. She goes into like the dining room, and her whole family's there, and they're like, "What are you talking about? We've been here the whole time. Superhero potion. Are you like, what happened? Are you okay?" And then eventually the dream turns kind of sinister, and her family disappears, and she just sees this dark figure that scares her. She just kind of screams and turns around, and she runs into Lily. So Lily says that she is Lola's conscience, the good conscience. She mentions the bad conscience hasn't been around since Lola's like fell in the potion. And she says she can only communicate through Lola's dreams. She basically tells Lola that she is in grave danger and that someone is trying to steal her powers to become the ultimate ruler of the world. But Lola's asking questions, and Lily is like, "I can't tell you anything else. It'll ruin the space-time continuum, But Lola has 1 month, 3 weeks to be exact, to learn everything she needs to know to be able to stop this from happening. So then Lola wakes up and notices her mom is crying. And her mom just says, "Paige still isn't back. I'm gonna go to the police today." So Lola stops by Bijou's house on the way to school to talk with her. And Lola doesn't really seem concerned about Paige. She just thinks she's frustrated and jealous, and she'll come back in a few days. Lola also spills the beans to Bijou that she is Miss Justice. And then they go to school and they tell Violet. So when Lola gets home, she finds a note from her mom or a text. But she's home alone, and her mom's out looking for Paige. Lola decides to do some digging and goes back downstairs to where they found her note and sees the emails between her and DS. But when she goes to print them to show her mom, it can't print because there's no emails. The emails have vanished. So next day at school, Bijou tells Lola that Miss Justice is basically an internet sensation. She is viral right now. And then we have a little montage of Miss Justice doing some good deeds. She's saving people from trees, saving them from getting hit by cars, stopping bank robberies. So a week later, basically everyone at school is talking about Miss Justice, and Lola overhears this kangaroo and Great Dane kind of talking about how the kangaroo thinks it's a fraud and that these people are paid actors, like the people that she's helping and that are like doing the like bad stuff. They're all paid actors, basically. Lola kind of gets into a little bit of an argument with them and tells them, if you think she's fake, just pretend to get into an argument or pretend to have a fight or whatever and see if she comes. So they do just that. They pretend to get into a fight, and Miss Justice shows up. So we learn that the kangaroo's name is Kobe and the Great Dane's name is Hudson. Now, Kobe bets Hudson that he won't ask Miss Justice out on a date. He bets him like $45. So Hudson asks Miss Justice out on a date, and she says yes. That night, Lola has another kind of obscure dream where I believe it's Lily's voice tells her she has only 2 weeks left to get her shit together. At school the next day, Hudson thanks Lola for telling him how to meet Miss Justice. And Bijou and Violet find Lola. Side note, Hudson is, again, kind of like the popular guy in school. So Bijou and Violet are kind of hounding Lola about why she was talking to him. But before she can explain, the bell rings and they all have to go. So back home, Mary is out again looking for Paige. And Lola decides to go try to find the emails again, but she can't find them, kind of gives up. And as she's about to leave, Lily pops up on the computer screen. Now, Lily's connection is kind of like in and out, it's glitching out. And basically, through the cuts, Lola kind of gets the gist of Lily telling her not to trust Hudson and that Lola cannot trust anyone. And then she cuts out. So Lola takes the laptop upstairs, kind of into her room to do some more searching on the computer. So on the laptop, she finds a list of the powers that come with this superhero potion, including a list of advanced powers that her dad did not mention to her. And then we end the episode with Paige being strapped onto like this table, and she's screaming and crying for help, and we hear like chainsaw noises, and then it cuts out. So the next day in class, Bijou is just yapping to Lola about Miss Justice and Hudson dating. And of course, this rumor spreads very quickly, like basically by the time the next period starts. But in the hallway after class, they see Hudson just surrounded by a huge group of people, and eventually he breaks out and just says that he doesn't even like Miss Justice, and he just kind of storms away. So Lola kind of takes this personally, and then they go to their next class, which she has with Hudson. And of course, the partner project.
You may work with partners.
Everyone swarms Hudson and asks him to be their partner and is asking about Miss Justice. But he notices Lola kind of by herself and decides to be her partner. And she kind of asks him about it a little bit. He confesses that he likes Miss Justice. He just doesn't really want to date her. And he's a little bit conflicted about what he should do. And Lola is like, just tell her the truth. I'm sure it'll be fine. And he agrees. So Lola gets dizzy again and heads to the bathroom where she faints, and Lily starts to talk to her again. Lily is very upset that Lola has been talking to Hudson and reiterates again to stay away from him. But Lily cannot tell Lola why. So Lola is not really in a place to trust Lily, and Lola yells at her for keeping secrets before she kind of wakes herself back up. So after class, Lola heads back into the lab to practice some more, where she finds a note from her dad and another potion that will let her access the advanced powers, basically. And now she can shoot lasers from her eyes. I vividly remember this scene. I was so stunned with the effects. I had like no idea how she did that. So then we cut to James, who we haven't seen in a while. He is locked in what looks like, a jail cell, something of that nature. And someone is kind of talking to him, taunting him, and James just begs them to stay away from his family and leave them alone. But this person talking to James informs him that DS, or Darky as he calls him, has given Paige a new look, and then he kind of laughs and walks away. So next episode, we start with a news coverage of Paige being missing, and Mary and Lola kind of give a little bit of an interview. So then we cut to some pets trying to break into a pink safe, but when they get it open, Miss Justice is already inside waiting for them, and she kind of knocks them around until the police show up. So after everyone's kind of arrested and taken care of, a reporter shows up to kind of interview Miss Justice, and the creator must have done like a Q&A on Twitter, because she put in like questions that people were actually asking from Twitter for Miss Justice to answer, like in this series. It was really cute. So Lola comes home, and her mom is concerned that Miss Justice is becoming a little bit too much. She's noticed that Lola has been tired and that her grades are starting to not look the best. Lola reluctantly agrees to take a break for a week, and then goes down to the lab to practice. We cut back to James in the cage, where he can hear Paige just screaming and sounding like she's being tortured, basically. So next episode, we open on this guy named Rory who really likes Miss Justice. Lola and Bijou run into him on their way to school, and they kind of talk a little bit. And Bijou is kind of asking Lola why she's talking to him. This guy Rory is kind of more on like the loser side, and Lola is a little bit more popular than he is, and Bijou doesn't really want anything to do with him. So then at lunch, Rory and his friends are discussing this autographing event that Miss Justice is holding, and we learn that Rory basically kind of created this fan club of Miss Justice. They call themselves the Justicers, I believe. So then we go to the autograph signing, and in the middle of it, one of the bank robbers shows up. Apparently, he escaped prison, and he shoots Miss Justice, except Rory jumps in front of her. And he ends up dying before the ambulance shows up. So we cut to presumably either later that night or the next day. Lola is talking to Bijou about what happened, and she's just feeling extremely guilty about what happened. She is just going, if I had done this, and this differently, could I have saved him? But Bijou is like, they said the bullet went right into his heart. He was gonna die in a few minutes anyway. There's nothing you could have done. So again, this is another one of those kind of conversations and topics that was kind of mature for a LPS series that me as an adult, I really resonated with that feeling of guilt over a situation where I, probably could not have changed the outcome even if I wanted to. So in this conversation, they mention that they haven't seen Violet in a while, and Bijou decides to go to Violet's house. Miss Justice goes on her date with Hudson. Yeah, Bijou goes to Violet's house, and her mom confesses to Bijou that Violet's missing. So after Miss Justice's quick date, she returns home and Bijou is waiting for her. And Bijou tells Lola that Violet is missing. Now, Lola starts to get concerned that the people in her life are being targeted. So Lola and Bijou decide to take some sleeping pills to talk to Lily to see if they can figure out what's going on. Lola takes Bijou because she kind of decides that Bijou is the only person she can trust right now. Lily just tells Lola again that she cannot tell her any more information as it would jeopardize the universe, basically. But while Bijou is there, Lily is like, you can't trust anyone. Anyone! So we cut to Mary, Bijou, and Lola at Violet's house. Mary and Violet's mom are talking, and Bijou and Lola go into Violet's room to see if they can find anything the cops missed. So the only thing they find is kind of a suspicious piece of clothing, but Lola is like, that's kind of similar to what she wears, but Bijou is not convinced and decides to take it home with her. So that night, Lola has another nightmare of Miss Justice kind of yelling at her, telling her she should have done more and that she's terrible. Just basically like an anxiety and guilt dream. So Lola wakes up to her phone ringing and it's Bijou, but Bijou just hangs up. And then Lola tries to call her back, but she doesn't answer. So Lola rushes over there thinking she's in danger, and Bijou's fine. It was just a test from Bijou. So then Lola goes home, and Bijou gets a mysterious email from DS666. So at school the next day, Lola sees Bijou with Violet, and she obviously runs over there very concerned. And Violet basically just explains that she was, I don't know if she got into a fight with her mom or what, but she was really angry, and she just took all of her savings and took a train to her aunt's house. And just in her anger, she just left her phone behind. But she says she's feeling a lot better. She's not really depressed anymore. And to celebrate, they decide to hang out at Lola's house after class. So Lola heads to class alone, and the bell rings and no one's there. So she starts to leave, but then the teacher scolds her and everyone kind of shows up and she goes back to her seat. And then the teacher starts to talk about, Miss Justice, and she starts to say Lola instead of Miss Justice. And eventually she transforms into Lily. Now, Lily tells Lola that she needs to give up her powers before anyone else gets hurt or anyone dies. And then Lily changes into Miss Justice, who just has like black eyes and they're just kind of like dripping black liquid. Very scary. So Lola startles awake and kind of screams in the middle of class. She fell asleep in class. And she asks to go to the nurse's office. So she goes back to class for the next period, where she's with Hudson, and he asks her to hang out after class. Sorry, not after class, just hang out sometime. So after class, where Bijou and Violet are with her that day. So Lola takes Violet and Bijou into the secret lab. They want to see it. Bijou and Violet enter first, and then the door slams shut in front of Lola before she can get in there. She runs upstairs to get her necklace to turn into Miss Justice to try to get the door open, but as soon as she comes back down, the door opens, and she doesn't do anything. So then we cut to Lola back upstairs in her room, and Lily is sitting on her bed. And Lily says that James sent her to show Lola something, which I don't really know how James is talking to Lola's conscience. Maybe Lily isn't Lola's conscience. I don't really know how that works. It's not really explained. So Lily teleports them to James. It's like a different teleportation, like they can't be seen or heard. Okay. And we see the masked figure talking to James, who is wearing a very similar piece of clothing that we found in Violet's room, by the way. And this guy basically tells James that they're going to get the information out of him one way or another. So the next day, Hudson and Lola are at Deerbucks. And while they're hanging out, three people break into the establishment, the Deerbucks, and they start stealing like the money and the food. And it's like the bank robber guy that escaped who shot Lola the first time, and a couple other people who are wearing the signature masks that we see James's captor wearing. So Lola kind of sneaks away to change into Miss Justice, gets shot at again, but she's fine. And then two of the robbers leave. They teleport away, leaving one. So Miss Justice kind of tells everyone to get out, to escape, and she confronts this last robber who she thinks is DS. And this robber just says, "You'll know DS when you see them," which, saying them when referring to DS, I'm going to assume it's kind of giving ambiguity. I don't think DS goes by they, them pronouns because this was like 2015. I'm going to assume maybe DS is a girl, and maybe that's why, she didn't say, "You'll know DS when you see her," or him, just to kind of keep us guessing. So we learn that the robber can teleport, and also she electrocutes Miss Justice. So this girl's got some powers. And they start to fight, and she's kind of kicking MJ's butt, Miss Justice. And now the wheels are starting to turn, and we're like, who else recently wanted powers and is also a girl? Paige. So Miss Justice does her laser eyes on this girl. It does nothing. The girl confesses that she may not be bulletproof, but she is stronger than Miss Justice. And she confesses that they planted a bomb in the Deerbucks. And it kind of starts to tick down its final seconds, and she teleports away, and Miss Justice is just kind of left to fly out of the building. So next episode, we see Lola is kind of blown all the way back to her house, and her mom finds her. And Lola wakes up in her bedroom, and her father's robot Dalmatians are staring at her, but her mom can't see them or touch them. Mary tells Lola that she was unconscious for a couple of days. She spent one day in the hospital, but she got better really quickly, so they sent her home. And then her mom leaves. A little bit later, Lola is startled by a knock on the door, so startled that she turns into Miss Justice on her own. Doesn't know how to turn back, so she just puts the necklace on, and it works. The necklace turns her into Lola. So at the door is Jewel, who is Bijou's twin sister. So Jewel says that Bijou kind of started acting strangely earlier this week, and she's kind of been snooping around Bijou's new room and connected the dots that Lola is Miss Justice. Jewel also found a note to Bijou from DS telling her to give Lola something while she was in the hospital to make her heal. So they decide to go to Bijou's room while Bijou is at school. And it looks like Bijou has been stalking Lola. There's like pictures up everywhere. There's like a journal just documenting what Lola and Miss Justice have been doing, like very detailed. And Lola finds a map where her house, Violet, and Bijou's houses are highlighted. The school is highlighted, and Hudson's house is also marked on this map. So that night, Lola dreams about the one robber that she fought, and it is confirmed that it is Paige. And basically, whatever DS has done to Paige has caused her to be really angry. So she attacks Lola, and then Lola wakes up, and her mom is calling her. So Mary says that the police found Paige in like, I forget exactly what the town name was, but presumably like the next town over, maybe a few towns over. And Mary is on her way to the police station to pick Paige up. She'll be back soon. Lola tries to call her dad again, but of course he doesn't answer, so she just leaves him a voicemail. And that is where we. Wait a minute. Oh my dog. Episode 16 was posted 1 month ago. 6 years later, this series did the impossible. It returned. So Lola wakes up in the empty house aside from the robots. And the robots take her to the TV and turn on the news, where basically a reporter is saying that crime has been up a lot since Miss Justice has started showing her face and doing her thing, and that she is wanted by authorities for questioning. So Lola starts to call Paige, she calls her mom, she calls her dad. No one is answering. She leaves them all kind of sad voicemails, and then she calls Hudson, who does answer. And, she's crying on the phone, so he's like, I'm coming over. You can tell me what happened. So Lola confesses pretty much everything. She confesses that her whole family is missing and that she's Miss Justice and that she's scared and concerned. So Hudson offers to take Lola to the police station that Mary and Paige are supposed to be at, but Lola's like, I'm kind of wanted, what if something happens and I change accidentally and then I'm caught? But she decides to go anyway. So as they're driving, they're chatting a little bit, and Lola is like, here's your turn. Here's your turn. Where are we going? And Hudson apologizes and hits her in the head, knocks her unconscious. Someone pours water on Lola, and she wakes up just in a chair surrounded by some random people. And Hudson walks in. And Lola goes, you're not Hudson. And he goes, correct, but I am controlling his mind. So he tells Lola that she needs to join them, give him her powers, or face the consequences, basically. And he pulls a gun on her. And of course, the Goonies did not strap Lola down, so she turns into Miss Justice and starts attacking them. Eventually, she's just too overwhelmed, and they presumably take her into a jail cell similar to where her father's being held. And that is where the series has left off as of this point. So this series was created by Eliza LPS, and she actually left a comment on the most recent episode. She says that it was written in 2017 and filmed in 2019. And she was kind of finishing up college at the time, and she thought the footage was lost, but recently she has found it, and it has motivated her to get back into LPSTube, seeing that it's kind of making a resurgence. So Lola is 15 in this series. I'm going to assume that around 10 years ago when this series started that Eliza LPS was also about 15. So that would make her in her mid-20s today. So it's really fun to see someone who's, adult age, similar to our age, or my age, I guess, making content again. Someone that I grew up with and I looked up to. In her most recent video, which is not the LPS Popular episode, she mentions this year will be her 15th year on YouTube, which is insane, and that's really cool that she's coming back. So I am unbelievably excited for this series. I'm just I don't know. I can't even describe like the joy and like nostalgia that it feels to have this return. How old was I when this came out? I was maybe, 15, mid teens when the season was, when they kind of stopped posting. And I kind of just given up. After a few years, you hope they make a return, but you just kind of give up. You're like, well, these people are probably starting college now and don't really have time to make videos anymore, and they probably never will. So it's just really crazy to see that one of them came back. So if you want to go support Eliza LPS and Totally Super, her YouTube channel is under Eliza LPS. Her Instagram is under Eliza A Cat. And she's been uploading about once a week on her Instagram. So I'm really excited to see where this series goes and where her account goes. You're going to be my outro, buddy. He's getting sleepy. It's about nap time, huh? Bye bye.